Conor McGregor's $20 million island purchase never appeared in any property records because what he's planning to do there would be illegal in every country on earth. Picture this: it's a humid afternoon in July 2021, and a small helicopter lifts off from a private airstrip in the Bahamas, carrying Conor McGregor and 3 other passengers whose identities were never recorded in any flight manifest. The helicopter flies for exactly 47 minutes before landing on a small island that doesn't appear on any official navigation charts, tourist maps, or government property databases. The island, spanning roughly 12 acres of pristine tropical paradise, is surrounded by crystal-clear waters and protected by natural reef formations that make casual approach by boat nearly impossible. But the natural beauty isn't what makes this property extraordinary. What makes it truly shocking is that this island officially doesn't exist in any legal or governmental system. No property records document its sale. No tax assessments acknowledge its ownership. No environmental impact studies have been filed for the extensive construction that has been taking place there for the past 3 years. The island exists in a legal gray zone that allows Conor to build something that would be impossible to create anywhere else in the world. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, an international property law expert who has studied unusual real estate transactions involving celebrities and billionaires, explains that what Conor has accomplished with this island represents one of the most sophisticated property acquisitions in modern history. Creating a property that exists physically but not legally is extremely difficult and requires cooperation from multiple governments, sophisticated legal structures, and significant financial resources, Dr. Walsh reveals. The fact that Conor managed to purchase and develop an entire island without any official record suggests he's working with people who have the power to make things disappear from official documentation. But before we reveal what Conor is building on this secret island, you need to understand how he discovered this legal loophole and why he was willing to pay $20 million for property that technically doesn't exist. The story begins in late 2020, when Conor was exploring options for creating what he described to close associates as a place of complete freedom, somewhere he could escape the constant scrutiny of public life, the legal restrictions of civilized society, and the oversight of government agencies that monitored his every move. Traditional private island purchases, even in remote locations, come with extensive documentation, regulatory oversight, and tax obligations that would make his plans impossible to implement. Conor needed something different: a property that existed outside normal legal frameworks and could be developed without the restrictions that governments impose on construction, environmental protection, and land use. The breakthrough came through a contact in the Bahamas who specialized in what he called alternative property arrangements, real estate transactions that utilized legal loopholes, jurisdictional ambiguities, and strategic cooperation with corrupt officials to create properties that existed in legal gray zones. This contact introduced Conor to an island that had fallen through the cracks of the Bahamian property registration system decades earlier. The original owners had died without clear heirs, the property had never been properly surveyed or registered with modern documentation systems, and various bureaucratic failures had resulted in an island that physically existed but had no official legal status. For most people, purchasing property with such unclear title would be impossible and inadvisable. But Conor saw an opportunity that his wealth and connections could exploit. The acquisition process took nearly 8 months and involved payments to multiple parties who claimed various forms of interest in the island. Conor paid the $20 million not to any official seller, but rather distributed the money among local officials, lawyers who claimed to represent potential heirs, and intermediaries who facilitated the complex arrangements necessary to gain effective control of the property. The brilliance of the arrangement is that because no official purchase was ever recorded, Conor can't be proven to own the island in any legal sense. But through a combination of physical control, strategic payments, and agreements with people who could potentially challenge his presence, he has created what property lawyers call effective ownership, control without legal documentation. What Conor has done is essentially purchase the absence of challenges to his control rather than purchasing official ownership, Dr. Walsh explains. He's paid enough people enough money that no one has an incentive to question his presence on the island, even though he has no legal deed or title. This arrangement provides Conor with something that money usually can't buy in the modern world, a space that exists outside governmental oversight and legal restrictions. And here's where the story takes a shocking turn that reveals what Conor is actually building on this secret island. Construction on the island began in early 2022, using contractors who were paid in cash and signed non-disclosure agreements backed by penalty clauses worth millions of dollars. The workers were transported to and from the island on unmarked boats, and their communications were monitored to ensure no information about the project leaked to the outside world. Satellite imagery analysis conducted by investigative journalists reveals extensive construction that includes multiple buildings, cleared landing areas for helicopters, and what appears to be underground facilities that suggest the project involves more than just a luxury vacation home. But the most concerning discovery from satellite analysis is evidence of medical facilities being constructed on the island, specialized buildings with equipment configurations that suggest advanced medical procedures are planned or already taking place. Intelligence analysts who have reviewed the available evidence believe that Conor is creating what they describe as a medical sovereignty zone, a facility where medical procedures that are illegal, experimental, or ethically controversial in most countries can be performed without regulatory oversight or legal restrictions. The combination of the island's legal non-existence and the medical facility construction suggests Conor is planning to offer medical services that couldn't be legally provided anywhere else, observes Dr. Michael Chen, a bioethics expert who has studied medical facilities in jurisdictions with weak regulatory oversight. But the medical facilities are only part of what makes this island so controversial. Further investigation reveals that Conor has been recruiting scientists, medical professionals, and technical specialists with expertise in fields that are heavily regulated or banned in most developed countries. These include experts in genetic engineering, experimental performance enhancement, and medical procedures that push the boundaries of current ethical standards. The recruitment has been conducted through intermediaries who offer exceptional compensation and absolute confidentiality. The specialists who agree to work on the island sign contracts that legally bind them to secrecy about the nature of their work and the location of the facility. What Conor appears to be building is a private research and treatment facility that operates outside the ethical and legal frameworks that govern medical practice in developed countries, Dr. Chen explains. This kind of facility could potentially offer treatments that are too experimental, too dangerous, or too ethically controversial to be legally provided through normal medical channels. But the most disturbing aspect of the island project is what investigators have learned about Conor's long-term plans for the facility. But here's what makes this absolutely incredible, because what Conor envisions for this island goes far beyond just personal medical treatment. Intelligence gathered from workers who have been on the island suggests that Conor plans to eventually commercialize the facility, offering experimental treatments and performance enhancement procedures to other wealthy individuals who are willing to pay enormous sums for access to medical interventions that aren't available through legal channels. The business model would be similar to medical tourism, but operating completely outside regulatory frameworks. Patients would be transported to the island secretly, receive treatments that might be illegal in their home countries, and return without any official medical records or documentation of what procedures were performed. Projected revenues from such an operation could exceed hundreds of millions of dollars annually, making Conor's $20 million investment in the island property seem like a bargain. Wealthy individuals around the world would pay extraordinary amounts for access to cutting-edge medical treatments, performance enhancement procedures, or experimental therapies that regulatory agencies haven't approved. But the legal and ethical implications of such a facility are staggering. Operating medical facilities outside governmental oversight creates risks not just for the patients who might receive unsafe or unproven treatments, but for society as a whole if dangerous medical technologies or procedures are developed without proper safety testing and ethical review. Before we continue with this shocking revelation about Conor's plans, make sure you're subscribed to Notorious Stories and hit that like button. We dive deep into the most shocking and untold stories of Conor McGregor's life, from his biggest victories to his most challenging moments. Drop a comment below and let us know, what other Conor McGregor secrets would you like us to investigate? The truth about the Notorious One is always more fascinating than what you see in the headlines. Government agencies have become aware of Conor's island project, though the legal non-existence of the property makes it difficult to take direct action. Multiple countries with jurisdiction over nearby waters have expressed concerns about what is being built on the island, but the unclear legal status of the property creates complications for any attempt to investigate or shut down the facility. The Bahamian government has faced international pressure to clarify the legal status of the island and either recognize Conor's ownership officially, which would subject the property to normal regulatory oversight, or take action to prevent him from using the island for potentially illegal activities. But corruption and competing interests within the Bahamian government have prevented any clear action. Some officials benefit financially from allowing the current ambiguous situation to continue, while others are concerned about the international reputation damage that could result from being seen as facilitating illegal medical facilities. The United States and European countries have begun investigating whether Conor's Island project violates any laws that could be prosecuted in their jurisdictions. Money laundering regulations, medical practice laws, and international agreements about experimental medical procedures all potentially apply to aspects of what he's building. The challenge for law enforcement is that prosecuting activities that take place on property that doesn't officially exist in any legal system is extremely difficult, explains Dr. Walsh. Even if illegal activities are occurring on the island, proving jurisdiction and building prosecutable cases is complicated by the legal ambiguity that Conor has deliberately created. But perhaps the most significant threat to Conor's Island project comes not from governments but from other powerful individuals who want access to similar facilities. Intelligence sources report that Conor has received approaches from various wealthy individuals and organizations interested in either partnering with him on the island project or creating their own similar facilities. Some of these approaches have been friendly business inquiries, while others have been more threatening attempts to force Conor to share access or ownership. Russian oligarchs, Middle Eastern royal families, Asian tech billionaires, and even some Western pharmaceutical companies have expressed interest in the island's unique legal status and the medical capabilities being developed there. Some see it as an opportunity for investment and profit, while others want access to experimental treatments for themselves or family members. But Conor has remained protective of his exclusive control over the island, turning down partnership offers and responding firmly to any attempts at coercion. This has created tensions with some very powerful people who aren't accustomed to being refused. Conor's refusal to share control over the island has made him both valuable and vulnerable, observes a security analyst familiar with the situation. He possesses something unique that many powerful people want, but his determination to maintain exclusive control has created enemies who might try to take it from him by force or legal action. Recent satellite imagery shows enhanced security measures being implemented on the island, including what appears to be military-grade surveillance systems and defensive capabilities that go far beyond what would be needed to protect a simple vacation property. The security enhancements suggest that Conor is preparing for potential threats from parties who might try to seize control of the island or disrupt the medical facilities being developed there. Today, the island project continues despite growing scrutiny and legal challenges. Construction has accelerated in recent months, suggesting that Conor is racing to make the facility operational before governments find ways to shut it down or force it under regulatory oversight. Recruitment of medical and scientific personnel continues, with reports that some of the world's most brilliant but controversial researchers have agreed to work on the island in exchange for the freedom to pursue experiments that would be impossible in traditional academic or medical settings. Financial projections suggest that if the island facility becomes fully operational and begins offering services to wealthy clients, it could generate revenues that would make Conor's other business ventures seem insignificant by comparison. The market for unregulated medical treatments and experimental procedures among the global elite is vast and largely untapped. But the risks are equally enormous. Operating medical facilities without oversight creates liability for any procedures that go wrong. The legal ambiguity that protects the island from normal regulations also means that Conor has no legal protections if governments decide to take aggressive action against him. Most concerning is the ethical dimension of what Conor is building. Creating facilities that allow wealthy individuals to access experimental or dangerous medical treatments without the safety protections and ethical oversight that govern normal medical practice could result in human suffering and exploitation on a scale that would make his current controversy seem trivial. Dr. Chen observes that the island project represents the logical endpoint of extreme wealth meeting minimal regulation, a situation where money can literally buy freedom from the rules that govern everyone else, with potentially catastrophic consequences for human well-being and social equality. The island that officially doesn't exist has become a symbol of how wealth and power can create spaces that operate outside the normal legal and ethical frameworks of civilization. What Conor is building there might represent the future of medicine for the ultra-wealthy, a future where regulations, ethics, and legal restrictions don't apply to those who can afford to escape them. Whether this future actually materializes depends on whether governments find ways to shut down the island facility before it becomes fully operational, or whether Conor succeeds in creating a medical sovereignty zone that operates outside the rules that govern the rest of humanity. The $20 million island that doesn't appear in any property records might be the most expensive but also the most valuable real estate purchase in history, not because of its physical beauty or location, but because of the legal freedom it represents and the controversial possibilities it creates. Conor McGregor's secret island proves that in the modern world, the ultimate luxury isn't just wealth or fame, but the ability to create spaces that exist outside governmental control and social oversight. And that luxury, while attractive to those who can afford it, poses fundamental questions about equality, ethics, and the limits of what money should be able to buy. If you enjoyed this incredible story of secret islands and medical sovereignty, make sure you're subscribed to Notorious Stories and hit that like button. We dive deep into the most shocking and untold stories of Conor McGregor's life, from his biggest victories to his most challenging moments. Drop a comment below and let us know, what other Conor McGregor secrets would you like us to investigate? The truth about the Notorious One is always more fascinating than what you see in the headlines.